Good morning. Thanks for joining me for today's devotional. The title today is Moving Forward, and the primary verse is Jeremiah 38:10, with the secondary passage being Psalm 4. And so Jeremiah 38:10 reads, Then the king commanded Abimelech the Ethiopian, saying, Take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he die. And the commentary reads, Let us be courageous when it is necessary, though we have little hope of a favorable outcome. Abimelech might have thought this attempt to help Jeremiah would be in vain, however strenuously he pleaded for the prophet. He might then have relinquished the task instead of boldly undertaking it. Likewise, those who think too much about a difficult task often talk themselves into inactivity. They think, What effect can you possibly have? You are only one person, and your enemies are many. If the king himself has been forced to yield to the anger of wicked men, how can you, as an individual, have the confidence to resist them? Furthermore, such tumult will be raised that you will perish in it. Meantime, these wicked men will perhaps stone the unhappy man whom you are trying to help. All these thoughts might have occurred to Abimelech, and he thus might have desisted from helping. But we see that he rested not in his own confidence, but in God's favor. Let us remember his example and hope beyond hope when God requires us to do something. When faith and duty demand anything from us, we must close our eyes to all obstacles and go forward in our work. For all events are in God's hands alone, and they will happen as he pleases. Our duty is to proceed, even if we think our labors may be in vain and will not bear fruit. Abimelech happily succeeds in rescuing the prophet because he acts as a pious and upright man in obeying God. God will also extend his hand to us, whatever difficulties we encounter, for we shall overcome them by his power and help. And so our application for meditation today, we often overanalyze situations and attempt to justify our neglect of duty. Abimelech did not do this, but rather stepped out in faith, trusting that he was doing the Lord's will. He left the result in God's hands. Are we doing that today? And so our secondary passage from Psalm 4 reads, Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have given me relief when I was in distress. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer. O men, how long shall my honor be turned into shame? How long will you love vain words and seek after lies? But know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him. Be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds and be silent. Offer right sacrifices and put your trust in the Lord. There are many who say, Who will show us some good? Lift up the light of your face upon us, O Lord. You have put more joy in my heart than they have when their grain and wine abound. In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. And so our application for meditation today, we often overanalyze situations and attempt to justify our neglect of duty. Abimelech did not do this, but rather stepped out in faith, trusting that he was doing the Lord's will. He left the results in God's hands. Are we doing that today? It's important to think about, because how often do we think about things in a sense of we have this great mountain to overcome, and yet we do not think about how, as believers, that God is working things to our good, and then ultimately God is on our side in this. And we think about how difficult a type of situation might be to overcome for ourselves, but what we don't think about is how difficult that situation is to overcome for God, because it's not difficult. We have an omnipotent God. God who is all-powerful, a God who is all-knowing, a God who is everywhere. We have a God who lives in the heavens and does as he pleases. And so we ought not put these limits upon ourselves that we held so closely, living in the flesh. As we live in the Spirit, we need to understand that all is possible through God and in Christ. And he will work it out for us. Have a great day.